At my parents' 30th anniversary, they revealed a custom-painted family tree inside the house. My siblings planned it. My parents approved it. It had 112 names. Except me. I said nothing. Just quietly took action. 3 days later, a clip was shared online, and my sister was calling her lawyer in a panic. Here's the thing about being erased. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's so quiet it almost feels polite. We were standing in the dining room of my parents' house. Everyone had been herded inside for the big reveal. That's what my brother called it, like we were about to see a new car or a gender. It was a mural, a hand-painted family tree covering the entire wall. A gift from the kids. Which included me financially but not creatively. They didn't want my input. "We've got it covered," my sister said. "Just chip in your third." So I chipped. Like always. The curtain came down with a little flourish and the crowd gasped. My dad laughed. My mom wiped a tear. My sister practically bowed. People clapped because that's what you do when you're told you're witnessing something meaningful. And it was impressive. I'll give them that. The tree was massive, sweeping branches, intricate calligraphy, gold accents. It had names. So many names. Cousins, second cousins, in-laws, babies. Even the family dog had a paw print. I recognized most of them. Not because we're close, but because I have an excellent memory. Comes in handy when your personality has to be studied, rehearsed, and constantly re-edited just to be tolerated. I smiled. Clapped along. No red flags yet. I stepped closer, scanning the branches out of vague curiosity. I found my older sister right away. Big bold lettering, complete with portraits of her twins and husband. My younger brother's name was on the other side, under a proud little scroll that read Regional Sales Manager. He sells appliances. You'd think he'd invented electricity. I looked for my name next. It wasn't there. No panic. It was a big tree. Maybe I was tucked somewhere further down. Or maybe the artist used full legal names and skipped my nickname. I scanned again. Methodically this time. Left to right. Bottom to... Still nothing. I checked the spouse clusters just in case. Nope. I'm not married, but neither is my cousin Emily, and she got her own leaf, complete with a tiny watercolor of her rescue cat. I looked at every name. All 112 of them. Every single person in that room was on that wall. Except me. For a moment I thought maybe I'd simply gone temporarily blind. Or was dreaming. Or both. I stared at the mural hard, like maybe I could squint myself into existence. Nothing. The first thing I felt wasn't rage. Or even sadness. It was embarrassment. That creeping heat under your skin that makes you feel both invisible and exposed. Like your zipper's down and someone's live streaming it. I didn't cry. I didn't ask questions. I just walked calmly to the bathroom and locked the door. It wasn't about needing privacy. I just needed a few uninterrupted minutes to believe what had actually happened. I sat on the closed toilet, stared at the floor tiles, and let my brain do what it does best. Sort data. And the facts were simple. I helped pay for a mural. A mural that included over 100 people. A mural that was approved by my siblings. And by my parents. And in that entire process, weeks, maybe months of planning, no one thought to include me. Or they did think of it and decided not to. That's the part that got me. The intentionality of it. It wasn't an oversight. Oversights don't survive 4 drafts, a deposit, and a wall. After a while, I realized I'd been sitting there for close to half an hour. No one had knocked. No one had texted. No one had even noticed I was gone. I splashed some water on my face. Dried it carefully. Reapplied lip balm. Smoothed my hair. When I opened the door and walked back into the dining room, the mural was still the star of the show. People were taking selfies in front of it now, pointing out their names like they'd won something. My mother was near the drinks table. I walked over, smiling like nothing had happened. "Hey," I said casually. She turned cheerful. "Yes, sweetie. Don't you think something's missing from the mural?" She looked confused. "Missing?" "Someone," I said. Still smiling. "Who?" "Me." Her expression didn't change much. Just a blink. A half-second pause. "Oh, that," she said, straightening a stack of napkins. "Well, we just didn't think you'd want to be on it. You know, you're not really into this sort of thing." "Legacy," I said. "You know what I mean." From behind her, my dad snorted. "We figured you'd call it sentimental nonsense and roll your eyes." I nodded. Just once. And that was it. They knew. They'd seen the final version. They'd approved it. And they were okay with it. Comfortable even. So I said nothing else. Just turned, walked to the front door and left. No one stopped me. No one followed. I got in my car, started the engine and drove. Not home. Not yet. I had things to do. Quiet things. Careful ones. And a very well-organized folder I hadn't opened in a long time. I said nothing that night. But 3 days later, they'd see my name somewhere they weren't expecting. And this time they wouldn't be able to erase it. I'm autistic. I didn't always know the word for it. But I always knew I was something people didn't want. I used to think of it like I was a broken appliance. I looked normal from the outside, but something inside didn't work the way it was supposed to. I wasn't sure what part exactly. Just that it kept making people look at me like I'd said the wrong thing. Or laugh when I wasn't joking. Or go quiet like I'd ruined something invisible. So I spent most of my life pretending I wasn't autistic. Long before I even knew the word existed. My whole childhood was basically one long experiment in how to pass for someone who belonged. I grew up in a big extended family. Loud, busy, performative. People who loved surprise parties and family games and group singing. All things I quietly dreaded and tried very hard not to show it. We had cousins like most people have houseplants. Too many to name, all crowding into one room. It should have felt like a community. It didn't. From the time I was 5, I knew I was the wrong kind of different. And the message came loudest from inside my own house. One of my earliest memories was telling my aunt that her new haircut looked uneven. Thought I was being helpful. She'd asked what I thought and I told her. Directly. Like I was taught to. I didn't think much of it, until my mom pulled me aside and told me I was rude, embarrassing, and ungrateful. Then my dad chimed in about how I needed to learn tact or I'd never have friends. I was grounded for 2 weeks. Over a haircut. When my brother told the same aunt she looked like a pink sheepdog 6 months later, everyone laughed. That was the theme. My siblings, Jake and Elise, were the golden kids. Social, expressive, always on. Elise in particular could say or do just about anything and be seen as charming. When I copied her exact phrasing in a group conversation once, I got a weird look and was told I was trying too hard. Which I was. But not the way they thought. I was trying to figure out how to exist around them without being corrected, laughed at, or ignored. Jake used to bark at me like a dog when I walked into a room just to see if I'd flinch. Elise would mimic my voice in a high-pitched whine, saying things like, "Technically, it's not accurate to say that," because I used to correct them when they said things that weren't true. You know, like a regular kid who cared about facts. My parents saw it. They laughed too. "You have to admit, Joanna, you do sound like that." What I never heard was, "Hey, stop mocking your sister." So I started trying to fix myself. I didn't do it because I enjoyed reading or wanted to be better at networking. I did it because I was desperate. I had entire shelves of books on communication, social skills, body language. Titles like How to Talk to Anyone and Social Rules for Kids. I didn't read them like books. I studied them like I was training for a test. Eye contact 3 seconds, then look away. Smile when greeting. Nod occasionally. Ask questions. Don't talk too much. Don't interrupt. Don't correct. I practiced in the mirror. I recorded myself to hear if I sounded weird. I watched other people and took mental notes. And still at every family gathering I was the one off to the side. Too quiet. Too intense. Not fun enough. I'd sit at the kids' table even when I was 16, because no one made room for me at the adults' table, and no one asked me to join in anything else. When I did try, when I smiled and joined conversations and mimicked the right tone, they'd ask, "Why are you acting like that?" I was stuck. If I was myself, I was a problem. If I masked, I was weird. Either way, I lost. In school, I excelled. Not socially, but academically. Science made sense. Programming made sense. Cells and logic and algorithms didn't care if I made the wrong face. They just worked or they didn't. I got a full ride to university for biology and computer science. Earned my PhD. Started lecturing part-time and working in research. I now make more money than anyone else in my family, but no one brings that up, except when it's time to plan a big family gift. Then it's always, "Can you chip in a little more? You're doing so well." And I always did. Because I thought maybe this time it'll count for something. I first started suspecting I might be autistic when I was 25. I was reading a forum about social burnout in women, And I saw post after post that felt like someone had stolen my inner monologue. Women talking about masking. About never feeling natural. About having to study how to socialize. About being exhausted after a birthday party. I didn't feel seen. I felt called out. So I dug deeper. Read papers, articles, personal essays. Took 3 online assessments. I scored off the charts. I didn't want to assume anything. So I found a specialist. Did the full assessment. Sat through hours of questions and evaluations. And at the end I got what I already knew. A formal diagnosis. Autism spectrum disorder. I told my family. I sat them down, or tried to. My mom kept getting up to refill her tea. When I finally got the words out, she laughed. "You're not autistic, Joanna. Don't be silly. You just don't like parties." My dad said, "You're too smart to be autistic." Jake said, "Oh, so now we're supposed to walk on eggshells around you?" Elise just smiled and said, "You've always liked labels." This is the same sister who built a brand around neurodivergent inclusivity. Who puts neurodivergent models on her campaigns. Who talks about representation in interviews. And then commissioned a mural with 112 names on it. And left mine off. They didn't forget me. They didn't overlook me. They erased me. And if I hadn't walked into that room and looked at that wall with my own eyes, I might have gone another decade believing that if I just tried harder, if I just fixed myself a little more, they'd let me belong. But now I know. They never wanted me to. And I'm done trying to earn it. I didn't scream. I didn't demand answers. I didn't call anyone to explain how deeply they'd hurt me. I just stopped answering. No dramatic group chat exit. No last word. I muted the family thread, archived the messages, and turned off read receipts. And then I unplugged from the machine I'd been powering my entire life. The first thing I cut was money. Not all at once. I wasn't trying to make a point. I was just done. I canceled the automatic transfer that covered part of my parents' property tax. The one they never acknowledged but clearly depended on. I withdrew my contribution to our shared family events fund, which had started out as a group thing but slowly became Joanna Covers What We Forgot. I declined the Venmo request from Elise for the floral arrangements she'd already ordered on our behalf. I stopped paying for people who didn't think I belonged to them. No one noticed for the first week. I watched quietly as the group chat buzzed with filtered party pics and post-event praise. Then someone brought up the missing birthday deposit for our cousin Lily's daughter. Jake. Did anyone cover Joanna's part? It bounced. Elise. Pretty sure she just forgot. Well, can one of you follow up with her? She might be overwhelmed again. Overwhelmed. That was their favorite word for me. Not autistic. Not excluded. Not betrayed. Just overwhelmed. As if I had tripped over my own shadow again. A few days later, Elise sent me a voice note. I listened to it once. Then again. Just to confirm I hadn't imagined the tone. "Hey, so. I know things have been a little weird, but I just wanted to check in. We really missed you after the party, and I know you've been sensitive lately, but you know we love you, right? Like, obviously you're important to the family. Anyway, let me know if you're okay. Also, if you could send your third for Lily's gift today, that'd be amazing. No pressure." I didn't respond. The next morning, I woke up to a forwarded invoice and a passive-aggressive, "just circling back" email from Elise's assistant. I deleted it. Then came the guilt parade. My mom left a voicemail where she was clearly trying to sound calm but had that sing-song panic voice she always used when things were falling apart. "Joanna, sweetheart, I don't know what's going on, but this isn't like you. You've always been so generous and dependable. I know the mural was complicated, but we were just trying to do something special. We didn't mean to upset you. Please don't let this ruin the whole family dynamic." The whole family dynamic. That's what she called it. Not what they did. Just my reaction to it. They didn't get it. Because they didn't want to. They'd painted me out, laughed in my face when I brought it up. And now they were confused I didn't want to keep being their silent donor. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was just not available. I had energy again. The kind that shows up when you stop pouring your worth into people who only see you as a resource. And around that same time I got an email from a conference organizer. A keynote speaker had dropped out last minute from a neurodivergence and mental health summit. Someone had seen a blog post I'd written months ago about high-masking autistic women in academia. They asked if I'd be willing to speak. At first, I almost deleted it. I'm not a public speaker. Not by nature. But then I thought, maybe that's the point. So I said yes. I spent a week writing the talk. Not rehearsing it, just writing it honestly. I opened with a story. About a girl who always brought the extra cupcakes to the party. Paid for the pizza. Picked up the slack. Took on the planning. Always helpful. Always just outside the circle. I told them how she once read 13 books on social skills before the age of 12, hoping they would teach her how to stop making people uncomfortable. I told them how she got a PhD, bought a house, gave generously, smiled politely, never made waves. Just chipped in. Again and again. Quietly. Reliably. Invisibly. Until one day she helped pay for a mural. A family tree. It had 112 names. Hers wasn't one of them. The talk was live-streamed. I didn't think much of it. I went home, made tea and graded papers. But by morning the clip had over 60,000 views. People shared it with captions like, "This hit harder than I expected. The cruelty of quiet exclusion. You can't call yourself inclusive if you erase your own sibling." The comments started flooding in. Some were from strangers. Some weren't. One person wrote, "Isn't this about that fashion designer who always posts about neurodivergence?" Another replied, "Didn't her sister pay for that mural too?" I remember the photos. I didn't say a word. But I didn't have to. And then something happened I didn't expect. They sued me. I should have seen it coming, but somehow I didn't. Not because I didn't understand who I was dealing with. I did. I just thought, maybe even they wouldn't be that stupid. Or that petty. Or that delusional. But no. They were exactly that. The envelope came via courier. A man in a suit handed it to me like I was being served in a thriller. I half expected him to say, "You've been warned." Inside, a lawsuit. Filed by my sister's company. For reputational damages. Against me. Because I told the truth. Because it went viral. Because apparently, publicly excluding your autistic sibling is fine. Until the public notices. Her brand had already started bleeding by then. It started with a few quiet comments online. Then people began reposting clips from the conference. My talk with quotes like, "She paid for the mural." Her name wasn't even on it. Funny how some inclusive brands only include people who make them look good. 112 names. Not hers. People asked questions. And when you build your entire business on the aesthetic of inclusivity, questions like that are poison. Partnerships went silent. A model backed out. An influencer canceled a collab and posted a cryptic story that everyone knew was about Elise. Suddenly, the sister who always claimed to stand for neurodivergence was being asked why she couldn't even stand next to it. And so she decided to sue me. For creating a misleading narrative. For implied defamation. For orchestrating a targeted reputational attack. She also threw in emotional distress, which I found kind of adorable. I mean me? Orchestrating a reputational attack? Please. I can barely organize a spice rack without taking breaks. I hired a lawyer. A good one. She asked me, "Did you name her in the talk?" Nope. "Did you identify her business?" No. "Did you lie about anything?" No. She smiled. "Then let's have some fun." We built a case. Carefully. I handed over. The bank transfer proving I'd paid for 1/3 of the mural. Screenshots of the group chat where I was told, "We've got it covered," and never consulted again. A digital guest list. 112 people. Every one of them on the wall. Except me. A high-res photo of the mural itself. With names. Labeled. Celebrated. And the kicker. An email from Elise's assistant. We left Joanna off. Elise thought it would be simpler. Simpler. Like cutting out a tumor. The trial wasn't long. Elise showed up looking like she was auditioning for the role of wronged woman, corporate edition. Beige power suit. No makeup. No eye contact. My parents sat behind her, both wearing their "we don't understand what's happening but we support our daughter" faces. It was weird to see them in a courtroom. They didn't look comfortable. Maybe because there were rules there. Or consequences. My lawyer asked me to walk through the story. So I did. I explained how I'd contributed financially. How I wasn't included in the planning. How I wasn't on the tree. How my sister built a brand off the very identity she erased from her own family. I spoke clearly. Calmly. I'd practiced. I didn't look at Elise. I didn't need to. The mural photo went up on a screen. The judge squinted. Whose Biscuit? Our family dog, I said. Deceased. Yes. Died in 2020. The judge looked back at me. But included? Yes. He looked down at his notes. Then back at the image. Your name isn't there. No, I said. It's not. I could feel the air shift in the room. There's something about seeing it printed. Not metaphorical, not exaggerated, not emotional. Just fact. A wall of 112 names. Mine missing. A dead dog made the tree. I didn't. Elise's lawyer tried to claim the mural was symbolic, not meant to represent every member of the family. So my lawyer zoomed in on the branches. Showed the nicknames. The marriage dates. The babies. Even the gold-foiled little acorn under Jake's name with "first to own a home" underneath it. Symbolic, she asked. Or selectively thorough? The jury didn't need much more. The case was dismissed. And Elise was ordered to cover all legal costs. She didn't look at me when the ruling came down. My mom did. Her expression wasn't angry. It wasn't ashamed either. It was flat. Like someone watching a machine they didn't know how to operate. Like she wanted to press a button and rewind it, but there was no button. And there was no tape. There was just now. After that, things unraveled fast. Her company lost 2 key investors. Then a lawsuit from a former employee surfaced. A neurodivergent model who said she'd been mistreated and underpaid. Elise posted a long, pastel background apology about listening and learning. It got ratioed within the hour. Within 6 months, her brand folded. And within another 3, my parents quietly sold their house. I wasn't the only reason. But I was the missing plug in a system that only worked when I was too tired to say no. They downsized. Moved into a modest condo outside the city. My brother helped a bit. Elise didn't. I found out from an email chain I wasn't meant to be copied on. Their new address was listed at the bottom, under a note about who was bringing potato salad to Thanksgiving. I wasn't invited. But I didn't want to go. Something strange happened after all this. I expected to feel triumphant. I didn't. Still. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was clinging to the edge of a family, trying to earn a spot that didn't exist. I didn't feel like I was prepping for the next rejection. I wasn't shrinking myself to be likable. I wasn't checking for who was watching. I was just me. Free. Unapologetic. Whole. I met someone too. He's a biochemist who hates small talk and loves fossilized sea creatures. He doesn't flinch when I say exactly what I mean. Doesn't call me cold when I don't fake smile. Doesn't try to fix me when I get overwhelmed, just asks, want quiet or company? Sometimes we sit in total silence for hours. It's the loudest peace I've ever known. I used to think that if I could just get everything right, if I was kind enough, helpful enough, polished enough, my family would finally see me. But now, I don't need to be seen by people who only looked at me when I was useful. I see myself. And that's enough. It's been a few years now. I went to therapy, real therapy. Not the kind where someone tries to fix your behavior, but the kind where you actually get to ask, who am I when I'm not performing for survival? Unmasking wasn't a switch. It was a slow, weird, uncomfortable process. Like taking off a costume you didn't know you were wearing and realizing you've never actually looked in the mirror before. There were days I missed the mask. Kept things predictable. Kept people comfortable. But now, I don't live in it. Sometimes I still have to use it. A little. Like emotional sunscreen. But most of the time I get to be myself. Fully. Honestly. Without apology. I'm engaged now too. He sees me. Not the polished version. Not the edited one. Just me. And he loves that version. That's still a little wild to say out loud. I haven't spoken to my family since the lawsuit. And I don't plan to. I used to think I couldn't survive without their approval. Turns out I was barely surviving with it. Now I'm happy. Not because everything's perfect, but because I'm no longer trying to prove I deserve to exist. Still, I wonder sometimes, did I do the right thing? Did I go too far? Or was I finally just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe.